Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's March 6th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And before I forget, let's talk about this first. We had this move down in the overnight, and then we had about a 50% correction here. So if you measure that first leg down, and you should expect a measured leg. Notice that we didn't get there. Notice how many times we made a double bottom basically with a little one tick trap, and then we made a little higher double bottom, and that's a good sign that we're probably going to bounce. When you can't make that measured move, it generally means you're going to get a pretty good move in the other direction, and you can see we did. We got a pretty good move up. We basically went back up and tested some of the highs. We didn't get back up to the very overnight high, but we did get back up and test this somewhat of a double top right here. It's just a range day. Early on, I was looking at the range just between these two lines. But you can see once we had the little failed break higher, we went up and we tested the last high here. We actually pushed above that before it was over, and we ended up testing this high. But that's that's after the 2 o'clock hour. And it looks like there's a two-tiered channel working up here. Really all you needed was this trend line here. Notice you got your new low, and there's actually a failed second entry short there, but we were still closing below the EMA, so I was a little bit leery of that one. But you still might have been interested in it because it was a failed second entry short. But when we made this higher low here, because this is a double bottom, so you can treat this really like another start higher. And there's a failed second entry short here. The only reason that one's not blue is because it's right into that double top, so it's a little bit concerning. But it just pushed right on through and kept going. But I did want to show you that before I forgot about it, so we can take that off. But yeah, anytime if you got a measured move that's pretty steep like that, pretty good move down, and you don't get there any closer than that, that's a pretty good sign that the support is strong enough that you're probably going to go higher. And you can see there we did get a pretty nice rally out of there. It was once we bounced right here, it was pretty obvious to most traders that know what's going on that we're probably going higher. And you can see it takes off, the buying comes in, and people start jumping in. There's probably a midline maybe right in here. If you look at that, it does fit on the midline right across there maybe. Gives you two equal tiers there, but I liked it better up here early on, just simply because that's where the resistance was. You can see we had that high, and then this is a double test of it right here, and look how we took off again. And I would also measure not only this move, but I would measure this leg too. And when we started heading lower, look for a measured leg there, and you notice we didn't even make that one. So that's telling you something. When there's two of them, you don't make either one. So but let's back out and talk about the trades, and we'll wrap it up for the day. I had a couple of people send me some stuff, and they had some trend lines working down through here. None of them really work out well. You can see that one has a little bit of a look to it maybe, but then you can't really make it fit real well on the low side. If you work off up here, got that one. You might have considered that one, but you still get to the same place using this other one. If you use that one, it doesn't really help you. So it's more of a range day, and really you're better off using the shorter term stuff. Okay, sorry I had an interruption there. So I don't think we'd started talking about the trade yet. We were just kind of talking about the day. But yeah, it looks like a range day mostly. We broke a little bit below here, but it didn't stay down there long, and then we're rallying back up to the highs, trying to test the highs. But let's back out and talk about the trades and wrap this day up. We had this trend up. When I came in, we were just finishing up this. So we got to close outside a new high, and then we're working lower. Notice how we pushed on through, pulled back. This is just a lower high. Basically, it is below the EMA, but notice this trend line here. Look at this. We came up, we moved down, we tried to push back up again there, and then turned down. So there's really a two-legged move there, and so you could assume that maybe this is very much like a failed second entry long. Even though we didn't tick higher, it still works the same basically. And I know I'll probably regret having said that because I'll get a million questions about, doesn't this look like one? Doesn't that look like one? Well, you don't want to do this all the time, but in this case, you're looking for a reason to get short, and it pretty much confirms that trend line, and we've tested it multiple times. So as you get more experience, that will make more sense. But if it doesn't, don't beat yourself up about it, and please don't send me, uh, emails asking me about it, because it's, the only thing I can tell you is the experience would tell you this looks like this is close enough that it's probably going to work, and it does. It turns out to be a nice trade, and you can see that quick, easy move down, and now you've got two legs right here down, and you get your true failed second entry long. So definitely you want to go short there. You still got room before it's close on this one. I think there's still room there to get out, but you got plenty of room for your main low, and that's your trend line working down. That's a nice setup off of it on a trap. And then we come down, and there's really another two-legged move here. I'm not as crazy about this one. That's the reason I marked it green. You got a 2-bar matching high and a fairly bearish bar there. You can figure we're probably going to test this low and hopefully get a new low in place. It's a little close to this low. There is a hidden second entry there, but again, I don't want to go too deep into that because that confuses so many people. And you got to be able to really read the chart overall. You can't just look for hidden second entries and say there it is and take it. So it's a little tricky. So anyway, and also if you draw your little trend line there, there's no break in new high yet. So you get a break here at a new high, but now you got a new one working. This was really the retest on the low. So I don't like that one. And then I would have liked coming back here with that one tick failure, but it's fairly close to this. You might still argue for that to be green. I think you're better off to wait. Notice we're moving up. There's actually a second entry short here with a fairly bearish bar, but you can't ignore that little channel, and you can tell that's a clear channel working up. You can draw that off the highs and drag it down. That's your first break, and you probably would have gotten trapped there. Notice it runs up to a new high, and then it turns down. And you basically get a double test of this level, and you get that little one tick higher, so you got a little bit of trap probably on some longs there. Just go short and look how it sells off real quick. And then you get a first entry long, pull back a second entry long, so you get a little double top right there. Again, right off the trend line, bearish bar. It looks very similar to one of the other ones over here, and off it goes. And again, it's tempting to consider going long here, but here's a good example. It couldn't get through that EMA. You're too close, and you wouldn't have got out, and you would have got stopped out. So that's a perfect example of why you got to be careful. You got to make sure you got room to get out before you get back to that EMA, because a lot of times it will turn down right off of it. And then notice pull back first entry, pull back second entry. So again, you got a second entry, and here you got a double bottom with 1, 2, 3, 4 different bars, and you get that little one tick trap. So you've got your break, a move down, a second entry long, and that little trap. So you might consider that one back, but again, you don't have a lot of room before getting back to that EMA. And so for that reason, I'm going to mark it green. Now, if you had a little more room in there, I'd probably mark that one blue. But notice we're working up. You got your trend line here working up, and that's your first break. And you try to go lower twice. Again, I didn't quite like that one because all these closes are below that EMA, but you could consider that going long as a failed second entry. Notice that new low, first entry, second entry, plus it's a second entry long. So you could consider that one. It would have worked, but usually you'll probably try to pull back again. Sometimes you'll take off, but you get the perfect setup here, and I like going long there. And then you actually pull back again here to the trend line. You can't close outside of it. The only reason, if this would have actually, there's actually a failed second entry short right here. Actually, it didn't tick back, but you could treat that like another bounce. If this would have broke lower, I would have liked it better, but you wouldn't have been able to get in this one because it just skips right over it, and I doubt you would have got filled until it came back here, and I wouldn't hang on for that. And then this one is the one when it tried to come back again, but it's right into that double top, so I don't like entering that. I'm not crazy about it, although it is the third touch of that little trend line right there. And somebody will probably ask me, why'd you start your trend line here? Well, that's really where the uptrend started. We were still kind of working lower here, and this is when it was obvious it was working higher. So I just use those first two, and you can see that's a nice trend working up. You get a close outside, move to a new high, and it sells off. So generally, you're better to wait on a lower high first, so I'm a little not crazy about entering here, but this is an overnight high, and it is a double test of that level. Notice that we tested it once, tested it twice, and it held, and that's a fairly bearish bar. Your stop would have to go above this bar, but I like the entry right there on that a little bit lower high than this last one. So, and they're a long way away from the EMA, so that gives it a little bit of oomph to try to, it's probably coming back at some point. And then there's a second entry long here, but there's too many bars stacked up until you get that next push down. But I would have liked entering there, except it's after 2 o'clock, and so I don't think you want to fool with that one. But it is a good setup, because you got that low, and then you tried to go lower twice more, and you double test all that stuff. You're probably going to test that high, maybe get a new high, which you did. So it turned out to be a pretty good trading day. The afternoon was not very good. Even though there's a good move here, there's just not a lot of good setups. You had to really get in down here, and that's the way trading ranges are. Where do most of your setups come? They come off the highs, shorts off the highs, and longs off the lows. So, but we were still trending down until right about here when we failed on that double bottom, and that's where you knew then that, hey, this really is more sideways. And then you can, and even across here, I wouldn't be afraid to trade this both ways if I got a good setup, but you really didn't get anything to the long side that was great, except maybe that one, and we're just so close to the EMA. So but yeah, that's what I saw today. Again, like I said, some pretty good trades. If you were trading early, you could be done early today. You didn't get any big runners or anything like that, but it wasn't a trend day. And, if you don't catch a trend, if you caught one of these, you might have caught a good runner. But other than that, you probably didn't get any today. So actually, you would have had a runner on this one, and you could have ridden 2 legs down. And notice there, when you head down here, you measure that first leg, and when that next one heads lower, you see you got a perfect measured move there to the tick. So that one did play out. Then you get the break and move to a new low, and it reversed. So yeah, not much else I can say about today, so I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.